Hey guys, what's up? So I'm here with a top 10 list for you. This is one I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's basically the top 10 underrated and or overlooked horror antagonists and or villains, killers, demons, monsters, etc., etc. Basically, whatever is kind of the antagonist of the film or the person or the opposite of your protagonist. Um, and in some of these, sometimes the antagonist is the protagonist, but I'm still gonna say that they're underrated horror characters in general. But basically, uh, there's no rules for this one. I'm definitely gonna dig deep and try and find some pretty underrated movies and overlooked characters and stuff to put on this list. So prepare to see some weird shit. You ready? Let's go. I should also mention that these films are in no particular order. So just because I'm reading off this one first does not mean it is the one I think is the least underrated, because it's all over the place. I just basically made a list of some that I think are underrated, and I am going to number them, but I'm not saying that they're ranked. I'm just reading them as I wrote them on this list here. So, starting off at number 10, we have the killer and or monster from Joe D'Amato's films Anthropophagus and Absurd. Now, I didn't review either of these films because I just kind of watched them because I wanted to. But both of these films are video nasties, infamous for being banned in the UK during the 80s. Both of them are extremely, well, not extremely violent, but they're pretty fucking violent. And the main antagonist, which he has a name apparently in both of them, but I don't remember them ever saying his name, so I'm just going to refer to him as the monster. And in Anthropophagus, which came out earlier, I think. I think it came out before Absurd, because Absurd is known as Anthropophagus 2 in some places. And actually, Anthropophagus is also known as Zombie 7 in some places, which is also really weird. But basically, the character I'm talking about is basically the main antagonist of both films. In Absurd, he's more of a serial killer, and in Anthropophagus, he's more of a zombie-like cannibal. But they're both played by the same guy, and they have a very similar look to them. Um, I would say that the reason I'm putting them on here is because they're both very creepy, menacing kind of characters. The kind of people you wouldn't want to run into in a dark alley, let alone on an abandoned Greek island or anywhere else for that matter. They're both very creepy, and each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses for what makes them interesting. And while they are basically the same character, the one from Anthropophagus can be killed, but while the one from Absurd can't, for the most part. He progressively becomes more and more rotted and gross throughout the film, yet they can't seem to kill him, and his blood coagulates really quickly, which leads me to believe that he might be some kind of zombie. But, I don't know. Uh, like I said, I can't really explain why I think they're underrated. It's mainly the fact that both the movies are very underseen, and I honestly consider them to be pretty solid. They're not perfect. They're pretty bad, honestly, but they're solid '80s video nasties, and I honestly think they're must see material for cult film fans. And if you, I'm sure that most people who enjoy these films will agree that the monster character is very very interesting and very very creepy in his own way. Like I would say he's kind of like a combination of Michael Myers and Jason, in the sense that it's in the sense that the character is very mysterious, much like Michael Myers, mysterious and creepy, much like Michael Myers, and then Jason Voorhees, he's very brutal and grotesque looking. I think that's a decent comparison. Okay, next at number 9 we have Fuad Ramses from the original Blood Feast. Don't know what to say about this one. Blood Feast is the world's first splatter film made in 1963. Widely considered to be the world's first splatter film, and honestly, there was nothing else like it at the time, and it caused a lot of controversy, and it was also a video nasty. But it's a pretty bad movie. Like, I mean, if you were to show it to a modern audience, it's I'm sure they would laugh at it because it's really bad. But it's not. That does not mean it's entertaining, because it is extremely entertaining and fun and cheesy. And the main antagonist of the film is Fuad Ramses, a Egyptian caterer who wants to kill a girl's best friends and then cook them into the dinner he's supposed to make for the girl's birthday party or something like that. And big reason he's on this list is because not a lot of people know who Fuad Ramses is, which is very sad because he was probably one of the earliest slasher film characters or slasher film villains or antagonists. I know Peeping Tom came out in 1960, and that's technically the first slasher film, but they didn't become big until the late 70s with Halloween, even though they existed for almost 2 decades. For almost a decade, I'm just going to go ahead and say almost 2 decades before Halloween. They've existed for a while. They'd existed for a while, and I think Fuad Ramses is probably one of the earliest examples of a slasher film villain. He runs around in broad daylight with a machete, murdering girls, taking their body parts, and cooking them. He is literally Ed Gein and or Leatherface before Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't want to say this film was an inspiration for it, but you could definitely see a couple of connections. And the character also has a very interesting kind of atmosphere and attitude about him. There's just something about him that feels creepy as hell. I don't know if it's the blank look in his eyes or the fact that he looks so young for having gray hair. It could be any of these attributing factors. Also, the fact the way he fucking speaks is just like so suspicious and over the top. But it's another example of a one that I honestly can't really explain that well, other than the fact that he's a creepy villain and he is probably one of the earliest examples of a slasher film killer. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else to say to put him on this list. And honestly, I don't think I really need to say much else, because I think that's a good enough reason. Alright, at number 8 we have Spike, the leader of the Cretans from Class of Nukem High. Now, if you're familiar with Trauma, I don't think I need to explain what Class of Nukem High is, but I will anyway. Class of Nukem High is a low-budget, independent science fiction horror comedy, basically about a high school that's like 2 miles away from a nuclear power plant, and it turns a group of students that were once that I think were once the debate club or the school choir into a group of cretins, into mutants, and really the only thing that really changes about them is that they start dressing up like an 80s hair metal band, and one of them has their face kind of messed up, but other than that they look normal. And the reason I'm putting Spike on here is because he's one of the villains that is featured in trauma films that doesn't get enough attention. Like, I mean, honestly, none of the villains from trauma films are ever really remembered, but him especially, because his character was so cool. He just had that like combination of CC DeVille from CC DeVille from Poison crossed with Alex DeLarge from Clockwork Orange. He had that look and feel to him, and that was what made his character so awesome and so cool. You know, he didn't have a ton of screen time in the film, and that's one of the things I honestly. That's one of the many things that's one of the few things that I don't like about the film. Other than that, the film is perfect in my opinion. It's a bad movie, but it's fun. And just Spike is just such an over the top fun character that I honestly can't understand why not a lot of people know of him, or at least, I don't know, he's just one of those characters that is really, really overlooked, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be, at least somewhat well known. He isn't even a cult horror icon, which, like the Toxic Avenger. Now, while he wasn't the star of Class of Nukem High, he still could have gotten remembered. He still could have gotten his own T-shirt or something. I mean, I'm sure there's a T-shirt of him out there somewhere, but still, he was. He was featured on the poster. He was featured on the poster over the main characters. I think that says something about it. And at number 7, we have Dr. Philip K. Decker from Nightbreed. Now, spoilers if you haven't seen Nightbreed, and I honestly recommend you see Nightbreed because it's easily one of Clive Barker's best films. But in Nightbreed, there is a character who is played by the master of body horror, who I'm going to mention in just 1 second on the next one. But master of body horror, David Cronenberg. I love Cronenberg's work, and he knows how to make a good body horror film. He also knows how to portray a psychopathic fucking psychiatrist very well. His character is very, very creepy and daunting. Very. He's one of those characters that's like really. He's one of those horror characters that's really, really smart. I would compare him to kind of like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. He's a character that's really, really smart and feels like he could outsmart you easily. He's just so cool and creepy in how he manipulates the main character into believing that the murders Decker had committed were committed by the main character Aaron Boone. Just the way he got him to absolutely just buy that, even though it's completely absurd that someone might believe that, even if they do have blackouts, it's still awesome. Another reason he is a extremely underrated horror antagonist. Now, speaking of David Cronenberg, we have a character from a Cronenberg film. I'm talking about the Cronenberg film Naked Lunch, the surrealist body horror drama science fiction mind fuck of a film that required me to watch it 3 times and look at a guide on how to understand it. That's how surreal it is. I don't care if you've seen Mulholland Drive and understood it. I don't give a shit if you saw Eraserhead and understood it the first time around. This is one that I can almost guarantee most people will not get the first time around. And the character I'm talking about in it is the Mug Whomps. Now, the Mug Whomps, if you haven't seen the movie or read the book it's based on, you don't know much about them. And honestly, the book doesn't explain much, and the movie really doesn't explain much either. And I honestly don't. And honestly, the movie's so confusing and out there to the point that it's kind of hard to understand whether or not they are the antagonists or not, or they're one of the many antagonists. And there are a few moments where the main character will go against what they say. There are moments where they'll go with what they say. So I just kind of put them on here because they're really fucking creepy looking. And in the book of Naked Lunch, they were literally fucking child rapists. Like, I'm not joking. There is literally an entire section of Naked Lunch where a mugwump has sex with a young boy for no reason, and then sucks all the bones out of him to where he's just skin waving in the wind. This actually happens in the book. In the book of fucking Naked Lunch. And while Naked Lunch isn't a horror novel at all, it's actually more of a dark satire, if anything else. It's still crazy as hell. And I can understand if the Mugwumps are never seen as even cult horror, like good, like an awesome cult horror antagonist or villains, but I can understand why, because a lot of people don't even consider the film to be a horror film, but I honestly do, considering it's got some really creepy as hell body horror elements. But that being said, it's just the Mugwumps are just awesome. Like, the design on them is cool, and they look creepy and the way they talk is kind of creepy. They're just one of those kinds of characters that is, like every single fucking character I've said so far, that are just really cool, and I can't understand why not as many people, talk about them or see them as horror icons, or at least icons of, you know, or movie icons or cult film icons, stuff like that. This one I think I'm going to keep short, sweet, and to the point. Uh, Basically, at this spot, we have the killer from the movie Headless. Headless was a slasher film from 2015, which I absolutely adored, and I got my copy of it signed by the director, the guy who played the killer, and another star of the film. But we're not here to talk about my fucking. I'll just leave it right here. We're not here to talk about my copy of. We're not here to talk about my copy of Headless. We're here to talk about the killer. I'm gonna keep, like I said, keeping it short. Basically, the reason he's on here is because he is an absolute brutal fucking psychopath who has crazy, like, hallucinations about people without eyes or eye sockets at all. He has a hallucination of this young, like, 8-year-old boy with this big skull for a head who just kind of clicks at him and points him in directions to go. He has a crazy, sick backstory in the vein of something like, in the vein of like Frank's backstory in Maniac, and oh my god, he's got one of those, and he's just unflinchingly brutal. Like, god damn, is his character brutal as shit. And those are just some of the reasons why I think he's pretty underrated. And this film isn't even that old, so I'm sure he'll slowly maybe gain a cult following, or the movie will gain a cult following. I'm sure it already has. But yeah, love this movie, and love the killer. The killer's fucking crazy as hell and just sick and twisted. This is another one I'm going to keep pretty short. Uh, Kai-san from Ebola Syndrome. The main character from Ebola Syndrome, played by Anthony Wong. I don't think I really need to say anything other than he's a very sleazy, slimy asshole, brutal, like fucking rapist murderer who is strangely charismatic and likable, and he is just one of the greats of Asian, like, horror cinema, in my opinion. He's up there with what's her name from Audition, and Kakihara from Ichi the Killer, and like all the kids from fucking Battle Royale. He's up there for me. And we get to probably the most interesting, disturbing, well thought out, well written, and all around crazy, or not crazy, but again, I'm going to say it again, interesting character on this list. It is the Psychopath from Angst. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Angst from 1983, it's an Austrian horror film, and the director went on to do really nothing else, which is really, really sad, because this film is deeply disturbing and meaningful and almost beautiful in a way. The way that it is filmed and the way that it is told. There's not that much dialogue. The story is told mainly from a monologue, or inner dialogue from the character, and it's just so, it's like so creepy, and it's just so creepy and disturbing without having to be brutally violent like Headless or Ebola Syndrome. And again, even though I just praised those two films as being awesome, this film is great for another completely different reason, and that is the main character is so fascinating. Also, he's based on a real serial killer, so you can't go wrong there. And now we get back to the unflinchingly brutal side of things with BBK from Ryan Nicholson's Gutterballs, a slasher film that I would list as probably one of my favorites of all time. It's a really dumb slasher film, yes. It's full of sex and violence and lots of brutal, interesting, creative kills. And I absolutely cannot wait for Gutterballs 2 to come out, even though they've been saying that it's going to come out since spring of last year. I'm not going to hold that against Ryan at all, because I know he's working on a new cut of the film and everything, but much like with Kai from Ebola Syndrome and the Killer from Headless, BBK is mainly on this list for his pure creativity in the kills, as well as the fact that he is unflinchingly brutal and violent, and he's very silent. He's a silent character. He does not say a single thing when he has the mask on, which adds a whole nother level of kind of creepiness to his whole facade, his whole character. And, yeah, that's why he's on here. I can't think of anything else to say. Let's go to the next one. Alright, we finally get to the final one. Jesus Christ, I never thought I'd be done filming this. But, at number one, again, this isn't ranked at all. I'm not saying these are the most underrated, although these guys are very, very underrated. It's The Blind Dead from Tombs of the Blind Dead. Now, Tombs of the Blind Dead is a pretty well-known film amongst the horror community and the cult horror community, but while it is probably one of the creepiest zombie films I've ever seen, it doesn't get much attention in the mainstream, which is really sad, because it's an extremely creepy, well-written, and just atmospheric as hell film. And it doesn't rely on extreme violence to, scare you. And that's just awesome. And I know there's an entire series of these films, but as of now, I've only seen Tombs of the Blind Dead, which was creepy as hell, and, definitely, got me having the goose pimples a bit, but, the Blind Dead themselves are just a group of undead Templar knights who are blind, and they hunt by sound. Now, if the fact that they're undead Templar knights who are mostly skeletal wasn't creepy enough, there's also the fact that they just, again, much like a lot of other characters I've mentioned on this list, they have this kind of power about them. Like, they don't have supernatural powers. They're just, regular old zombies. But they have that kind of staggering over you kind of feel to them. Again, even though they're about average size, but they also have horses too, and god damn are they fast on those horses. They're extremely creepy, and I honestly think Tombs of the Blind Dead should probably get more attention in America, because it's a fucking amazing movie. Just hands down, one of the best zombie films I've ever seen. I don't think it would rank in my personal top 10, but if I were to list zombie films that I think are like the best ever made, it would definitely be on the list. That being said, that concludes my list of the top 10 underrated horror villains, antagonists, characters, etc., etc., so forth. Anyway, guys, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I know I drug quite a bit because I think on my toes. I don't write scripts for this kind of shit, although I honestly think I should for some of them. So, yeah, you guys have a good one. Peace.